All right, folks, here it is. The X-Men ranking. The definitive EDPC Reviews X-Men ranking. Shall we get into it? So if you've been following along with the reviews, the playlist, which, quickly, I'm going to stop you. If you want to see my reviews of each film are up there. And now I'm going to rank them all. So, if you haven't seen them, and my thoughts are going to get spoiled to you, obviously, but no, I didn't actually give any film below a C, which sort of surprised me as well. Maybe with rewatches, because again, this was my first time watching most of them. I'm sure expectations played a role, but anyway, so kicking off the C's, in last place is going to be The New Mutants, 13th spot. The story is unoriginal. You got unoriginal characters. It's boring. The main thing is that it just parrots so much from other genres without adding anything new to it. And, I'm not really a fan of that. On the, the other side of the coin, I like the idea of a horror mutant film, but it's not executed well at all, really, I'll say. And, it's got some nice moments, but nothing to elevate it above any of the other films on this list. Number 12th, another C film, X-Men Origins Wolverine. I really ripped this one apart in my review. A very tropey film like The New Mutants. Nothing interesting to add to Wolverine's character. And, why make an Origins film if you're not going to have any new insight into his character, quite frankly. They add so many of these new characters that are, a lot of fan favorites, actually. You bring back Cyclops for a cameo. Patrick Stewart, Charles comes back for a cameo for a bit. Gambit, Deadpool. And they somehow mess each one up. They give a massive middle finger to these characters and just throw them in the garbage. I don't know who came up with this idea of, let's add all these characters and make them worse. That's why it's number 12. So at number 11, you have X-Men Apocalypse, which, lo and behold, maybe you're seeing a pattern here, is also a very tropey, laughably predictable film, I'll say. Probably the most predictable of the bunch. It's ridiculous. Personally, what irks me is that it's just a ton of wasted potential after Days of Future Past, what we got there. I feel like you could have explored so much more. Apocalypse as a villain sucks. And then they bring back a ton of, again, fan-favorite characters that were in the original trilogy, and they tarnish the legacy of all of those guys, too. They make each of them... Sophie Turner's Jean Grey is horribly acted. Her performance is awful. Cyclops, I don't know the guy's name. Ready Player One guy. He's whatever the script wants him to be. He's multiple different characters almost, it feels like, throughout this film. And Nightcrawler,
look how they mess my boy.
Nightcrawler, why'd they mess him up so bad? Number 11, X-Men Apocalypse. All right, folks, but that's it for the C films. Now we're going to move on to the B's, films I find, slightly enjoyable, but still, have problems, obviously. Coming in at number 9, I'm going to start it with X-Men The Last Stand, the end of the original trilogy. This one is obviously pretty universally disliked. I think it has enough fun elements to actually make it worthwhile. A worthwhile film. Obviously overcrowded, all of that. It absolutely applies to this film. But I think that each of the individual elements that they add are interesting and unique enough to justify their existence. Again, maybe, it doesn't work all together, but I think the film itself is a nice enough ending to the original franchise, the original trilogy. Coming in at number 9, if you saw my review of Dark Phoenix, I sort of defended it a little bit because everybody hates this film, it seems like. But I actually thought, there was quite a bit good in it. The main thing that really struck me while watching this film is the amount of, I feel like, effort was put into these character interactions. A certain, an inciting incident will happen, and then all of these characters that we've grown to know over this reboot will have different thoughts on it that actually, seem applicable to these characters. They'll have conversations about it that, again, seem applicable, and their actions, the consequences that follow, all make sense. They are all logical, and I think that, that's really, it's clear that, they were trying to give that sense of finality to the film. But other than that, of course, it's pretty standard stuff, pretty plain, pretty solid, perfectly solid, not great, not bad, pretty generic, yeah. Coming in at number 8, you have Deadpool 2. Some people love this one. I just got to say that it does, a lot of stuff better than the first one. I'll say pretty much all the jokes, the fourth wall breaks, the meta jokes, and like just scenes in general. You have the skydiving scene, which is absolutely hilarious. Some of the funniest stuff in a movie I've ever seen. But on the other side, you have a convoluted plot that really doesn't feel like it belongs here. It takes away from the comedy, and just the pacing is all over the place. It varies so much, and that does bring it down for me. Coming in at number 7 is the one that started all the original X-Men movie. Now, I know a lot of people have nostalgia for this one, but it's very clear that this film, it's very 2000s-esque, right? Like the tone is very, very clear. And that does sort of bring it down for me, honestly, because, there's no way to distinguish it in time periods. Some films are universal, right? They can be appreciated by anyone at any time. This film is definitely one for that specific time period. It gives you that nostalgia for the era, but the style is overbearing a lot of the time. A solid film though. And then at number 6, basically for the same reasons actually, is X2, which is of course a better film than X-Men because it does everything pretty much the same but better. Builds off of it, makes it more epic, but again, it has that 2000s-esque style that the later films, really abandon, actually, I'll say. But also, this one's finale is absolutely amazing. It's an incredible, incredible finale, but it is far, far too long. And you might think, well, maybe a little too long. No, it's like just under half the runtime, which is a ridiculous length for a finale to be, for the Act 3 to be. Yeah. All right, folks, top 5. All right, before I get into the top 5, put your top 5, or maybe if you've seen all of them, top 13, down in the comments below, because I want to interact with you. I want to see your opinion, so do that. Do that for me, please. Thank you. Number 5. Kicking off the top 5 and ending the B tier, actually, just the highest B on this film, is X-Men Days of Future Past. It's a time travel flick. You gotta love them. But unfortunately, this one is ridiculously complicated, convoluted. The implications it has for the franchise in general are, vary, but in general aren't very good. And this film can be very, very slow at times. It can drag quite a bit, but it has a lot of the highest moments in the franchise, quite frankly. Those final scenes are excellent. The character moments, again, between Charles and Magneto specifically, and just having Wolverine in the rebooted, interacting with both generations. It's a joy to watch. But number 5. All right, folks, so this one might lose me some viewers here. But coming in at number 4 is going to be the Wolverine. I like this film quite a bit. I think James Mangold would later go on to do Logan, and you can see the beginnings of Logan here, where he explores Japan and incorporates that into Logan's story. And it's very fascinating because, later he'll do it with the Western, and he's really mastered the idea of, a setting and how it should be applied in a story. A lot of people complain about the third act being too ridiculous. I can understand it. I personally didn't get that. I'm not going to say I disagree because, it is pretty ridiculous compared to the rest of the film. But I enjoyed it enough that it didn't tarnish what I thought of this film. So, 4th spot. Top 3, folks. Coming in at number 3, we have Deadpool, the Merc with the Mouth. If you say you're a fan of superhero films, I would have a hard time believing you not liking this film. Again, if you don't like it, tell me why in the comments down below. I'm sure there's a valid reason. This film's hilarious. It does everything Deadpool-esque very well. Perfectly solid film, again. And the thing that really, keeps this movie good and also very surprising is the emotional backbone that the film has. Wade is given a lot of time and dedication to his backstory and his relationship with Vanessa, and that really strengthens the story of the film and how you feel about this character. He's not just some guy who's joking around the whole time. He actually has a serious backstory, and it adds a nice element for the story. So coming in at number 2, second place, folks, silver medal is going to be X-Men First Class. Now this film has grown on me quite a bit since I watched it. The more I think about it, but X-Men First Class is a really fun film. It really is. And Matthew Vaughn's directing absolutely captures the style of the 60s, just the vibe that you get from it. And the characters, it's so much fun to watch because, it does not at all take for granted the idea that it's a reboot of these classic characters. The fan service here is enough to last you a lifetime, right? Some of it doesn't always work. Actually, maybe half of it doesn't work. And when it fails pretty miserably. And you audibly groan and you cringe and it's awful. But, I think the good fan service makes up for it, because you have these character moments, these character interactions, people meeting each other, people getting objects that we know them to have later. It's all so much fun. So much of that, really, just the style is really what makes this film more than anything, and it's a lot of fun. But folks, you knew it, I knew it. Coming in at number 1 is Logan. This film can't be beat, evidently. And yeah, what more to say? I mean, I guess I'll try. The dark tone, the R rating, just the general grizzledness, is that a word, of Logan, of the time period, of the future. It's all so gritty, and just what Mangold does with it, what Jackman does with it, what Stewart does with it. It's truly incredible. You have an aged Charles who you really feel empathy for, and this world that is almost perceivable, seeing as it's like in the near future and not super far off, so you can almost like believe it, that you're living in it. But at times, it's also just such a dystopia that you're like, what is going on? And then these two absolute fan favorite characters that you started the franchise with, you get to see their arcs and the closure there, as they both show us why we like their characters so much one last time. It makes me wonder why we didn't get a Wolverine R sooner, because this was always begging to be made. But anyways, an incredible film that will probably always be number 1 on this list. Alright folks, thanks for watching my X-Men review. If you disagree, put it down in the comments below. If you agree, I think that's pretty unlikely considering there's 13 films. But if you agree with even one film's placement, let me know. If you agree with all 13 films' placement, let me know, and we can be best friends, because that would be pretty incredible, I have to say. Anyway, I really liked watching this franchise. If you want to see all my reviews, they're up there. But again, wait, no, they're not, because I said that at the beginning. So they won't show up there, just kidding. Folks, it's a blast. I might rank these when I'm done with WandaVision in a few weeks, assuming you're watching this when it came out. I might rank these with the MCU films. Possibly. That'd be a long video, but I might do it. But folks, thank you for tuning in. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.